Squonk. I think that's how you say it. I don't know. The Squonk is a kind of folkloric creature said to live in the hemlock forest of northern Pennsylvania. The legends of squonks started in the late 19th century when Pennsylvania was in its height of its timber and hunting industry. Its earliest known written accounts of squonks come from a book called Fearsome Creatures of the Lumberwoods with a Few Desert and Mountain Beasts by William T. Cox. The legends say the skunk's skin is ill-fitting, covered with warts, and that it is ashamed of its appearance. It hides from plain sight, and it also spends most of its time weeping in the forest. Apparently, hunters claim that when they tried to catch it, it would dissolve completely into a pool of tears and bubbles when cornered. Apparently, another guy called J.P. Wentling coaxed a skunk into a bag. He picked it up and walked home. Eventually, the bag got lighter, and when he checked, it was just liquid and some random remains of the skunk. In 2015, a version of Fearsome Creatures by Hal Johnson said that the skunk is basically a pig covered in warts and has cauliflower ears covered in wax and hair, while its tusks are yellow and crooked. The Raystown Ray. For about 4 decades, there has been sightings of the Raystown Ray in Huntington County, Pennsylvania. Sorry if I mispronounced that. I don't think I did, but if I did, y'all let me know. In Raystown Lake. The first known photo of the creature was from a local fisherman looking over the lake. No one really knows its first ever sighting. They just say they've known about the existence of the Raystown Ray for a long time. Although its first recorded existence was in 1962, so I assume like a picture, at Old Raystown's Dam. According to the Huntingdon County Visitors Bureau, the dam was destroyed in 1971 to create a 8,300 acre man-made Raystown Lake, which goes as deep as 185 feet. In 2010, Sci-Fi's channel Fact or Fake Paranormal Files sent a team to investigate, and they investigated the lake during a nighttime dive. They used sonar recordings, photo recreations, using a floating log to help them determine the legitimacy of the pictures, and they used a lot of dead carp as bait. Their conclusion was that the sightings reported by witnesses generally seemed credible, and that it was possible that there could be a large thing, cryptid, or whatever living down in Raystown Lake. Yeah, I'm not too sure about any real lake monsters. They, for the most part, always sound and look similar. Maybe that gives them more credibility. I don't know. There's just a lot of lake cryptids that look alike. I know there's some ones that look different, but for the most part, they all are a different version of the Loch Ness Monster. The Kettle Creek Monster, or the West Branch Dugong, or the Saskatchewan Seal. There's not much info on this cryptid, and from what I can tell, it isn't a dangerous one either. People claim to have seen it, and sightings have slowed down. People don't really know what it looks like either, but many say it looks like a seal. People still claim to see it, but many say it did exist, and it's probably dead now. The Albatwitch. The Albatwitch? I don't know. This is definitely my favorite cryptid out of Pennsylvania. I'm sure I missed some cryptids. I don't doubt it. But anyways, it's a small man-like creature, around 4 feet tall. They supposedly lived in a wooded area around Chickies Rock. Yeah, I said lived because apparently they are extinct now. The creatures are named for a habit that they possess. Their bizarre common name is short for apple snitch, as they are known for loving apples. They supposedly steal apples from picnickers and even throw stuff at people to scare them off. It is also said that they live in trees and only come down for food, although they are apparently extinct now and have never been seen since the later years of the 1900s. So yeah, rip to my boy Albatwitch. I don't know. Shout out to them though. They're definitely my favorite cryptid in Pennsylvania. The Waterford Sheepman. This is a goatman type cryptid, but instead of a goat, it's a sheep. It's terrorized the town of Waterford, Pennsylvania around the 1970s. It stalked farms of the area, and apparently the locals use it as a type of boogeyman-like story to tell kids and scare them that it'll take them. Trotter Head. It's at east, one half of the horror highway. Stopping the video for a bit, 5 minutes in. But welcome to Pennsylvania's Darkest Iceberg. This is our second episode into the Darkest United States Iceberg Series, where we plan on doing all 50 states. Just let me know in the comments which state we need to do an iceberg on next. The comment with the most likes will be the one that I do next. Anyways, let's continue with the video. Oh, and remember to like, comment, and subscribe. The Beaver Run Snow Gator. Apparently a 5-foot alligator was seen paddling around the waters of northern Westmoreland County, Beaver Run Reservoir. People who visited say that they saw the top of its head and really upper body torso. Also, the security said that they saw it, but they never found it. The reservoir is closed to the public, so luckily it won't harm anyone. When winter eventually hit and passed, people were unsure if the gator survived and don't know whether it's still alive down there. So yeah, rip the snow gator, I guess. The Butler Gargoyle. The Butler Gargoyle is a Mothman-like creature with a height of 7 to 8 feet and has been seen around since June of 1993, and its last sighting was March of 2011. It is also described as having a bicycle helmet-like head and its skin being grayish pale. The first sighting, like I said, was June 1993. Witnesses claimed that they were looking at Allentown, which is a city in Pennsylvania. I'm guessing looking at it from a hill, I don't know. But they claimed they saw a 7 to 8 foot tall creature in front of their car. The last sighting was in March 2011. A guy was driving down a rural road? Fuck, I don't know, dude. And he thought he saw a deer, but when he got closer, he noticed that it was like a Mothman-like statue. Again, the same height as before. Pennsylvanian mountain lions. So Pennsylvania enacted a bounty on mountain lions on 1807, but the Games Commission believes that the last known Pennsylvania mountain lion died in 1874 in Berks County. So for this entry, people claim to have sighted mountain lions in Pennsylvania, even though they don't live there anymore. Also, something interesting while researching this is that it has been documented that western mountain lions from South Dakota have traveled eastward and as far as Kentucky, Tennessee, Michigan, Connecticut. So yeah, maybe one of them got to Pennsylvania and people, or multiple got to Pennsylvania and people have cited that. But other than that, I don't really think this is true, or maybe someone let out their mountain lion, because only wild mountain lions have died. There might be 1 or 2 in captivity. The Pennsylvanian white Bigfoot. It was first seen in Blakesley, Pennsylvania in 1970, and according to Annette B., the creature she saw in 1970 stood around 6 to 7 feet tall with a broad chest, a long neck, and a coat of dirty white fur. She also went on to describe the face. Its eyes were dark and spaced apart. Its white fur covered the lower half of its face. There was a pinkish skin around the eyes and forehead. It looked like its hair was longer on its head and hanging over its forehead like bangs. There should be an illustration on screen of the creature. There was a sighting on September 27th, 1973 by 2 girls. Why'd I say it like that? But the most famous one was in 2008, where they sighted the white Bigfoot and they even filmed a video. Here's the video. So if you're into cryptology, is that the right word? I think it is. Anywhere on the internet, YouTube, Twitter, Reddit, 4chan, whatever, you could tell this is a pretty famous video in that category. And I didn't know it was tied to like any other sightings / myths. So I thought it was pretty cool when I found out about it. Anyways, it was taken in Carbondale, Pennsylvania. And for many years, the residents of Carbondale would report bizarre sightings and incidents of the white Bigfoot. Boardtop snake. It's a large snake that people can't determine the species it's from. It is also from Broadtop Borough area of Huntingdon County. And an account by Emmanuel Bushman claims that his brother and 6 other people witnessed a devil snake in April 1833 on what was then called Big Round Top. Yeah, as you'll see in the video, giant snakes are a thing in Pennsylvania, so I guess this specific one is just named much like the other cryptids that have names but are just another version of Dogman or a Thunderbird. Oliver, the chimpanzee. So yeah, I know most of this layer is for mostly cryptids, but Oliver was just a really weird chimpanzee. And while reading upon Oliver, I thought, hey, why not add him to the iceberg? Trainers thought he might be a chimpanzee-human hybrid, or maybe a missing link. They claimed he had humanoid traits, like his face being flatter. He walked upright, etc. He also apparently was more attracted to human women, and not chimpanzee women. After Oliver passed away, it was revealed that he was just a normal chimpanzee. Ogua. The Ogua is a freshwater cryptid from West Virginia and Pennsylvania area. So yeah, whoever does West Virginia will have this there too. Just want to explain it and just say that it's on this iceberg. It is said to dwell in the Ohio, Allegheny, and Monongahela. Bro, I don't know the names for these rivers. Here's Google Translate.
Ohio, Allegheny, and Monongahela rivers.
The Ogua is a alligator snapping turtle-like creature that is brown. It's 20 feet long and said to weigh around 500 pounds. Sometimes it's said to have 2 heads and can move on land even though it lives in the water. Its origins is said to be from prehistoric times. The Ogua was first reported in 1745 in Holt, West Virginia. According to legend, a 12-year-old boy was allegedly pulled under the water by the Ogua while fishing with his family. The boy was never seen again, so rip lil bro. Layer 2. The Giwoggle. So this is actually the official monster of Clinton County in Pennsylvania. Also, the info for the Giwoggle was a bit harder to gather since there's not a cryptid wiki about it. Oh, and I might as well just, all the cryptids here on level 2 are basically in the same, I guess, category as the Giwoggle. There's no cryptid wiki, so I feel like level 2 is appropriate for them. Anyways, sightings for Giwoggle date all the way back to the mid-1800s. The Giwoggle is described as a 6 foot tall, shaped like a wolf, but stood on its hind legs. And rather than paws as the hands, it was more like bird claws, and his back feet are like horse hooves. Apparently, it is believed that it was summoned by witches, casting spells to conjure one up, to harass people who have offended them. Also, there is another person/figure who appears in these stories, known as Loophole Ike. He helps farmers that are being messed with by a Giwoggle, and Ike would counteract the witch's spell, and if that didn't work, he'd grab a shotgun and go to burn down the witch's hut. I guess Ike is pretty cool. Maybe one day Horror Highway will go and hunt a cryptid. Video idea, maybe? Oh, we're gonna die. Birth Ann Beast. So this cryptid is basically a dogman, but this one was spotted in Birth Ann, Montgomery Country in 1990, and ever since then, everyone in town knows it. According to the stories, the dogman-like thing walks on 4 legs, and also it's 2. The first sighting was a guy and his friends see it, and they decide to chase it, and they run it off. Then it turns around and chases them, where they barely escaped. Yeah, there's not really known about this specific cryptid, besides that it's a dogman, just it has a specific name, so that's why it's on here. The Ape Boy of Chester Swamps. This, like the Giwoggle, also didn't have a cryptid wiki, that's why it's level 2. And I know I said it in the other one, but all the level 2 ones don't have a cryptid wiki, so yeah. But for this one, I did find a PDF on Google Books. The book was called Weird Pennsylvania, and the Ape Boy of Chester Swamps had an entry, so that's what I'm used. So the story goes that there was an ugly boy who lived in Chester. He was tall, thin, gangly, red-headed, and was unspeakably hideous. He was bullied and eventually he ran away into the swamps. He was never seen again, or at least not as a boy. He roamed the swamp and the woods during the War of Independence and skirmishes with the British. Gradually, he mutated into a half-ape, half-human thing with red fur. He eats small mammals and fish with his bare hands. Apparently he's immortal since he's still being spotted today. Yeah, who knows if he's actually still alive. Could just be a Bigfoot or something roaming the area. Nuwi. The Nuwi is a giant turkey vulture or a thunderbird type thing. I'm not too sure. This is probably the cryptid on here that has had the least amount of info. If it is a thunderbird, then I mean, it's just typical thunderbird things, just a specific name to it. Red Devil Bat of Chester. The red devil bat is 3 feet broad, and its body was a bright scarlet red, and apparently it had horns too, so. It also made a continuous buzzing sound. It's a winged cryptid, reportedly sighted in the roaming house of Miss Mary Stickler, early on in August 23rd of 1928. Miss Andrew Turk was awoken by the cryptid flying into her room. Both her and her husband were asleep, and when the husband woke up, he found it behind a curtain. They knocked it out, and multiple people helped them throw it out the window. I don't know, I feel like this one's more made up than the others. Kind of weird, why wouldn't you just keep it and then like, well, come see the monster or whatever, blah blah. Anyways, on to the next one. Giant white wolves. Yeah, as the name implies, it's just giant white wolves, and they have been sighted. They are said to appear and disappear in the blink of an eye, which that is kind of weird. They are most likely exaggerated in size for stories, and making the people who saw them, quote unquote, seem a lot braver / cooler, etc. All the way from back in the day. Wolves aren't a thing in Pennsylvania anymore. Well, besides the wolf sanctuary, who knows, maybe there's even some giant white wolves there. Ridge Road Monster. It's a 7-foot tall monster that's skinny and has gray skin stretched all over a tall skeleton body. And that's pretty much all I could find on this cryptid. If anyone from the area knows more about it, I'd love to hear it. Just type it in the comments or something. We'll definitely see it. We usually do a good job at looking and responding to comments, so yeah, I'd love to know more about this monster. It seems really scary. Giant snakes of Adams County. Lengthwise are 15 to 40 feet in length and a foot in diameter. They've been reported from the 1980s through the early years of this century. By comparison, the largest confirmed native species of snake in Adams County is the black rat snake, and they usually grow around 7 feet. Most modern reports of giant snakes originate in the mountains of southern Pennsylvania, from northwestern Adams County, west through Franklin, Fulton, Bedford, and Somerset counties. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the century. They're just sightings of giant snakes from 15 to 40 feet in length. I don't know how true this is. I've only seen a handful of snakes and they weren't large, so I don't know. Don Deker, aka the Rain Man. He was a teenager in 1983 and he was serving a prison sentence for receiving stolen property. I don't know what that means really. He was allowed to leave jail for a week to attend his grandfather's funeral when, oddly enough, rain began to fall sporadically from the ceilings above Don. The phenomenon occurred consistently for a few weeks, causing a priest to be called in for an exorcism once he returned to jail. But Don never could explain the mysterious rainfall as anything but his grandfather's spirit. The rain stopped as suddenly as it began. People who managed to witness this claim that Deker soon entered a trance and was responsible for mysterious indoor rain, that he floated and exhibited telekinesis, moving objects with his mind, as well as making a cross feel hot. I don't know if this one is true either, but it's really interesting and I would love to make a video on the Rain Man. Layer 3. The Tripod Creature. Not to be confused with Omar, they also call him the tripod but for different reasons. I thought this creature / alien / cryptid, I don't know. I found it on a Reddit post talking about unknown Pennsylvania cryptids, and this one was one of them. And looking into it, it looks more like it's under the extraterrestrial subcategory for this iceberg, so I put it there. Anyways, the tripod creature was a bizarre extraterrestrial sighting that occurred on August 15th, 2009 at 2:45 a.m. in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The anonymous witness claimed to have seen a 4-foot round luminescent orb on the roof of a building that he worked in. So yeah, I don't know what to really think of this. There should be an illustration of whatever it is on screen. Also, the person wanted to remain anonymous, so I don't know how I feel about it really. UFO sighting state rank, Pennsylvania. So I found this website called satelliteinternet.com, and it has this UFO sightings ranking for each state. And I already shared this website with Omar, so hopefully he adds it to his icebergs as well. Anyways, Pennsylvania ranks 28th. So yeah, not the worst, but not the best, right? Yeah. Hopefully we do this for every iceberg. Hopefully Omar does it too. Anyways, let's get on with the video. Little Brown Men. So on October of 1994, the Radnor family were all asleep in their home in Rochester, Beaver County, Pennsylvania. They suddenly heard a loud crash and saw a sudden flash of light. They then all woke up. The mom then huddled up all their children while Mr. Radnor got up and went to check on the sound. When he finally opened the door, he saw a 4.5 feet tall humanoid figure. And then 15 feet away, there were 5 more. They were all similar in size, and they were wearing, as the book describes it, luminous brown metallic suits. And apparently, to Mr. Radnor, they glowed softly. They then lured Mr. Radnor to a craft that was sitting near the farmhouse. He felt dazed, and when he woke up, he didn't remember anything. He was just in his bed. He then heard his wife scream, and he followed the screaming. He then saw a crop circle over 25 feet in diameter. Now, I don't know if any of these are actually true or if they actually saw a crop circle. I'm getting these off of the book, so yeah, sorry about that. Aliens go shopping. So, a woman named Barbara went shopping with her husband, in June of 2008 at the Century Inn Mall. Barbara went into a department store and then to the men's department of that store when she saw a mom and her child. She then turned a clothing rack and saw a male-like figure, but it wasn't human. The figure was bald, wrinkled, and the skin was gray with bumps all over. His eyes were also very dark and almond-shaped. The figure noticed her and got closer and smiled. She thought that maybe the male had a medical condition, so she was trying to be nice and not stare at it directly. And she turned, then the figure disappeared. She then asked the security guard, and they say they didn't see anything. And even after pestering the security and the store manager, she eventually got to see the security tape, and the figure was not seen. She didn't tell anyone till one day she saw an article in a newspaper, which reminded her of the story, and the story got out. Mystery bank robber. So this is an interesting rabbit hole I went on when I first discovered this. I would love to do a video about this mystery man. Maybe another time, when I don't have school in the way. I'll just explain the bare bones for it now. A mysterious man robbed 7 Pennsylvania banks between the years of 1977 and 1993. Each time he entered the bank without a disguise, under the guise of a customer who wanted to open a business card, then proceeded to shoot out the security cameras, hold the occupants of the bank hostage, and demand the tellers to give him all the money in the vault. This is really weird in my opinion, because he didn't have a disguise and the cameras should have caught him. From the outside looking in, it feels that the bank robber doesn't care that much about his appearance, or if people distinguish him, but he actually took real care in not getting caught. He probably went in multiple times or scouted out where the cameras were and how to position himself to not get caught, but I don't know, man, it's just weird. Ralph's missing time. So Ralph, in May 1973, went outside and wanted to get fresh air since he worked a 16-hour shift earlier that day. He was going home, driving down Shenley Park, but he decided to pull over and take a nap. Man, if I did work a 16-hour shift, I would also be tuckered out, but I don't know about sleeping in a random street or park. Anyways, suddenly, a bright light woke him up. He thought it was a cop with a flashlight, but all he could make out was an arm, and the thing asked him, "What are you doing stopped here?" Then, "What is sleep?" Ralph was surprised because he didn't give an answer to him. When Ralph did wake up again, he was in his bed, and he had no idea how he got there. Okay, so that did get me thinking a bit while I was reading it for the first time. The alien or whatever found him, since the thing could read Ralph's mind. He probably thought like, damn, I fucked up, and just did something to knock him out and took him home, I guess. Anyways, it was kind of interesting. The Kecksburg UFO incident. This one's a pretty popular one. It's the only UFO incident from Pennsylvania that I could find that had a Wikipedia. So on December 9th, 1965, in Kecksburg, Pennsylvania, there was a fireball that crashed onto I think it's a village, or near the village in a forest. But it was reported by 6 other US states and Canada that they saw a fireball falling from the sky. This probably will be mentioned on those states as well. Or just not as in-depth, even though this isn't really that deep. This is also known as Pennsylvania's Roswell. The people who lived in Kecksburg reported wisps and blue smoke, vibrations, a loud thump, and it also landed in the woods like I said earlier. NASA also released a report in 2005 that it was a Soviet space probe named Cosmos 96. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just not really extraterrestrial, I guess, right? But it is the most popular one that I could find because it had a Wikipedia. And I think it deserves to be on here anyways. The Great Fire of Pittsburgh. So this happened on April 10th, 1845, and it destroyed a third of the whole city. The fire destroyed as many as 1,200 buildings, while also displacing 2,000 families, or about 12,000 individuals from their homes. Household belongings were piled up on the hills surrounding the city, and surprisingly, only 2 people died. One was lawyer Samuel Kingston, who was thought to have just returned to his house to rescue a piano, but apparently lost his bearings in the heat and smoke, since his body was found in the basement of a neighbor's destroyed house. And the other body was not found until weeks later, and it's thought to be that of Mrs. Maglone, whose family had advertised not seeing her since the fire. So yeah, I'm not sure how more people didn't lose their lives in this tragedy, just because it destroyed a third of the whole city. Layer 4. Centralia. Its population has declined from 1,000 in 1980 to 5 residents in 2020. because of a coal mine fire that has been burning beneath the borough since 1962. This town, city, I don't know, 5 people live there, I don't know what you would call it anymore. Neighborhood is actually the inspiration for the town in Silent Hill in the horror movie with the same name. Man, I would definitely love to visit this place, but the town, from the pictures I see, is really creepy just by itself. And apparently there's also a lot of stories of shadow figures and apparitions all around the abandoned buildings. Also, this could also be on the tragedies category, but I kind of wanted it on the haunted locations category because it seems so cool as a location I would want to visit for like ghost investigation type beat thing. A Carbondale mystery. So in November 9th, 1974, 3 teenage boys, Bill Lloyd, John Lloyd, and Bob Gillette Jr. were hanging out in Carbondale. They then see a bright object streaking across the sky. According to them, it was golden white, and it came from Salem Mountain, which was outside of town. They also figured that it was headed down Russell Park. When they got there, they looked around, and they found a 4-foot wide glowing spot. They described it as a yellow pulsing glow that had a red core. They then went to grab help, and grabbed 3 more boys. When they went back, they found that the light had gone into the water, so they went to go tell the police. With everyone there, the police decided to shoot at the light, and the light moved. The news caught wind of the story, and they told the news that they saw a UFO. Police told the news that it was just a meteorite. The next day, when the boys went to go back, they were not allowed to go in. They went around or something, and they were able to see that they were trying to get the thing out. Then the next day, they went back, only to find the vibe of the area different. Then again, the day after that, the police put on a show where a police diver went into the water and pulled out a lantern. So yeah, obviously no one believed that, and with the story the boys gave, and saying that they saw a UFO. But I kind of want to know what was actually in the water, and if the police managed to pick it up. We probably won't find out. Dale Kerstetter. Dale was a security guard in Bradford when he disappeared one night in 1987. It appeared that he'd vanished without a trace. Security cameras revealed a masked intruder present shortly after his disappearance, leading authorities to believe that he may have been abducted. This case is really weird because on camera you see Dell talk to the intruder, but when they walk off camera and reappear, only the intruder is seen. You can even see the intruder stealing $250,000 worth of platinum pipes. Dell was declared legally dead in 2014. There's a lot more to the story, and this is just bare bones of it, but it's a really weird deep dive I went on while researching. Hotel Bethlehem. It's apparently one of the most haunted hotels in Pennsylvania, and it is also one of the most popular ghost hunting spots in the state. The building was actually the first ever building in the city of Bethlehem, and it was eventually turned into a hotel. And apparently there's also 4 ghosts that haunt the building. One of the ghosts is said to be actor/singer May Hoy. She was apparently born in the hotel, and she has also been heard singing in the lobby. People that stay at the hotel have also seen her apparition in the hotel gym/exercise room. Also, most of the paranormal activity is centered around room 932. The lights go off and on, apparitions appear in the mirror, and also a ghost/apparition wakes people up in the middle of the night and asks them why they are there. So yeah. The 3 Mile Island accident. The island was home to the 3 Mile Island nuclear facility, and this accident began around 4 a.m. on Wednesday, March 28, 1979. A coolant malfunction caused part of the core to melt in Reactor 2. Some radioactive gas was released, but not enough to cause adverse health effects, as noted in numerous health studies. Reactor 2 was eventually destroyed. The accident did prompt additional safety measures and rigorous testing programs. Luckily, I hope I can't find anything other that says otherwise. No workers or surrounding public had any health issues or died due to the accident. Also, when the accident was happening, the public 5 miles in were told to evacuate, and the public 10 miles in were told to stay indoors, and it's still just scary to think what could have happened. Cool Pike County encounter. So on May of 1957, Frances Stickler was walking towards her chicken coop when she noticed a low humming noise. She then looked up and noticed a strange aircraft 15 feet above her barn. It looked like your average flying saucer, by the way. The aircraft went lower, and Frances could see inside when she noticed a man with a shiny gray suit and wearing a helmet with the same color. It was average sized with a long face and deep set eyes. They stared at each other for about, what she says, a minute, when it suddenly flew up and ran away. Oh, also, I didn't say it earlier, but today while I'm recording these, Mexico had their little alien thing that happened. September 13th. Little timeline update. Cindy, song. Cindy was last seen in 2001 when she attended a Halloween party at Penn State University, where she was a senior. She disappeared after two friends dropped her off at her apartment late that night. Cindy only left, IDK exactly what happened, but the only thing missing was her purse, which had all her credit cards and ID. Also, her apartment had no signs of struggle. No one knows exactly what happened to her or what exactly happened at all. This is also another topic that we can make a video on if you guys want that. The Hillview Manor. According to many ghost hunters, this is one of the most haunted buildings that they have ever been to. It was built in 1926 as a home for the elderly, and it would stay like that till 2004. It did have a good run, right? That was a long time. But it did eventually close due to lack of funding, and it is believed that thousands of people have died in the building over the years. A lot of those were natural, but some were word puzzle. I have this one in level 3 since the ghosts / people that passed seem to have passed naturally, or at least a lot of them did. So yeah. Cherrie Mahan. Cherrie Mahan disappeared 50 feet from her house's driveway. She was only 8 years old when she disappeared on February 22nd, 1985, and she was pronounced legally dead on November 5th, 1998. No one knows who took her or exactly what happened, besides a bluish-green van that parked near the bus stop, and that is strongly believed to be not committed by a family member. Layer 5. The Seven Gates of Hell. This is in York, Pennsylvania, and it is an area where an old asylum once stood. It is said to have been burned to the ground because firefighters could not reach the area in time. Almost all the patients perished in the fire, and 7 gates were built to help capture the remaining patients who escaped. There's also a local legend in the area that if someone passes through all 7 gates, they will go straight to hell. I don't know about wanting to visit this one, just because of the 7 gates thing. This kind of reminds me of a video idea Omar and I had, where one of us would call 66666, just straight sixes on a phone and see what happens. Maybe eventually if we get big enough and we could visit haunted places, we could have one of us pass through the 7 gates. I don't know if that sounds dumb or not, but hopefully it isn't true. The Harrisburg Hospital. This is in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, as the name suggests. When the hospital first opened, it was known as Pennsylvania State Lunatic Hospital. So yeah, you could probably see why they changed the name. And it did continue operating as a psychiatric facility, treating the mentally ill till 2006. Ever since, the hospital has closed down, and there has been reports of paranormal activity, like screaming, shadow people, apparitions, and just normal paranormal stuff that happens. The most paranormal stuff that does happen in the building is in the morgue, basement, and in the underground tunnels. So yeah, man, just researching paranormal places just makes me want to visit at least one that has actual paranormal things going on, at least once in my lifetime. We have visited different paranormal spots throughout the existence of Horror Highway, not just the channel, but the podcast as well, and nothing has really happened. So the 2011 Groundhog Day Blizzard. So this storm, like many of the other storms on this iceberg, hit a good portion of the United States, but I can't really find how many people did end up passing in Pennsylvania, if any, but 36 people did pass due to this storm all over the areas that the blizzard hit. Betsy Ross House. Betsy Ross is the person who designed the first American flag, but people actually visit her house because it is one of the most haunted houses in Pennsylvania. I'm pretty sure some people do visit for sightseeing and seeing how the person who created the first American flag did it, but if I were to visit, it'd be for the ghost activity. I'm just saying that it could also be for the flag thing. So apparently a former director of a paranormal show climbed out of a window, jumped on a flagpole to escape the spirits that were pursuing him. People who do also visit claim on seeing Betsy Ross herself crying in the basement, and some have heard cries and moans from the gift shop, and also apparently a security guard was murdered in the area in 1980. This one seems kind of interesting, I guess, to visit. Most of these I would love to visit just because I've never experienced any quote-unquote paranormal activity, and I'd love to, but like I said multiple times, I don't know if that's my ignorance speaking. Pennhurst State School and Hospital. This is located in Spring City, Pennsylvania, and it operated for about 50 years during the first half of the 20th century. It was apparently cut off from the rest of the world, and it was also very quickly becoming overcrowded. The staff of the place and workers mistreated mentally ill patients that lived in the building, and it did eventually close down, but many people did end up dying in the building. People who visited the building report all manner of strange noises, apparitions, who are believed to be the spirits of the people who died there, and it is now one of the most haunted places in Pennsylvania. The Old Jail Museum. This is located near the edge of the Pocono Mountain, and it was built in 1871. Yeah, this place is old as hell. And it was used as the county prison until 1995. Jesus Christ, bro, that's a long time. The Day of the Rope is the name of the story of this place, and on June 21st, 1877, 4 Irish coal miners accused of being Molly Maguires were hanged in the old jail at one time as punishment for fighting for better treatment and working conditions. So if you don't know what Molly Maguires are, they were just kind of like a union, except they were like, I think they called themselves a secret society, whose goal was to protect the members of the Molly Maguires from the oppressive mine owners. So yeah, just a little context for that story. The leader of the group was named Alexander Campbell. He placed his hand on the wall of cell 17 and swore that his handprint would remain as proof of his innocence. And over the years, it has been scrubbed clean, painted, and the wall has even been demolished and rebuilt. Yet the mark of Alexander Campbell's innocence is still there. That's actually really insane, and I know I've been saying this about all the other haunted locations, or like a lot of them, but I would actually love to go visit this place and look at the mark myself, because that's insane. So I won't go into depth of the other planes here in this video. Those will most likely be in the video of those states, whoever gets them between me and Omar. Other than that, the 4th plane, there was 4 planes hijacked by terrorists, but the 4th plane crashed in rural Pennsylvania after some passengers revolted. So yeah. The 1993 storm of the century, or the 93 superstorm, whatever you guys want to call it. The areas affected by the story is basically all of the eastern United States, Mexico, Canada, Cuba, the Bahamas, and the Bermuda. And about 40% of Americans were affected, and about 10 million people lost power. I'll only be talking about the impact in Pennsylvania. More people died in Pennsylvania than in any other state. The number of fatalities were 49. The state saw a record-breaking, at the time, foot of snow in only 24 hours. And by the time the storm ended, the damages costed around $5.5 billion. This will probably also be listed in the other states that it happened in. Fort Mifflin. So this is a historical site of the state, and that is the only Revolutionary War battlefield that has remained completely intact. One of the ghosts that is known to haunt Fort Mifflin is the Screaming Woman. There's a lot of those. And that ghost is believed to be Elizabeth Pratt. She is often heard in the officers' quarters, where it is believed that she hanged herself. Another famous ghost in the fort is also the Faceless Man. There's a bunch of those too. Who knows, it might be the same one. Who is believed to be the ghost of William Howe, and he is often seen around in the casements where the prisoners would have been held. Visitors have reported being pushed and grabbed by unseen hands. The Eastern State Penitentiary. This is also considered one of the most haunted locations in Pennsylvania, and it was the first penitentiary in the United States. The prisoners that were incarcerated spent their times being subjugated to both physical and mental torture, with methods like the mad chair, which is where prisoners would be strapped tightly in and be left completely motionless for days without anything to drink and no food provided, which eventually drove them to insanity. They used a lot of other torture methods in the penitentiary, but it's really no surprise why this place is haunted if that's how they treated the prisoners, which I also assume many did die there, so no surprise. People who visit claim to hear footsteps, screams, moans, and just other weird sounds. People have also been grabbed, scratched, and even followed. I don't know if I want to visit this place. Layer 6. The Taituna cave diving tragedy. So, I've had an interest in doing a couple of cave diving / cave exploration tragedy videos on the channel, and I just never found the time to do it. So this will do for now, I guess. So the entrance of this cave is not advertised, but it is known to locals. There's also a folktale that Bedford Rangers chased Native Americans who killed 2 settlers in the cave. and the 2 Native Americans never emerged from the entrance they went into. It's thought that they either died in the cave or left out another entrance. The cave is pretty safe if you follow the rules though. The cave does attract cave explorers and tourists that want to explore it. But on June 20th, 1988, Roberta Swicegood and John Schwen, both of them were really experienced cave divers. This video explains who they are and the story of this tragedy in more detail. So yeah, linked in the description, it should be here on the screen. They decided to go survey and map the cave from Arch Springs End, which that is another entrance, or believed to be another entrance that leads to the same cave, which is also believed that that's where the 2 Native Americans escaped from. Anyways, they found 2 sumps. I guess I'll explain the sump as well, right? So a sump is basically a passage in a cave that is submerged in water. That there should be a picture on screen so you could better understand it. And okay, I'll go back to the story. The second sump was really long and deep, about 1,000 feet long and 105 feet deep underwater. They managed to get out and back to the surface, but John left the cave and Roberta decided to go solo cave diving again. She never came back. Multiple divers tried to rescue her, but were unsuccessful. Her body was recovered 4 days later. She apparently lost her guideline and ran out of air before she found it. The cave has been banned for cave diving to this day, unless you get permission by the Taituna Cave Preserve Management. The Brandywine Battlefield. So I want to, start this one with, this could also, and there's another battlefield later on in the iceberg, but these could also be under the unfortunate events category. But yeah, just FYI, multiple of the things on the iceberg could be categorized in different areas, and just wanted to start with that. So this is a famous battlefield in Pennsylvania, but it is often overlooked. This is an important historical site because of the Revolutionary War, and it is also haunted. Around 2,000 men died in the battle. People that visit the battlefield claim that they can still hear the battle echoing in the area, and they also claim to see apparitions of soldiers and horses. Ghost horses? That'd be pretty cool to see. Gettysburg Battlefield. So this entry refers to one of the bloodiest battles in American history, with around 8,000 soldiers losing their life, and the battle lasted around 8 days. There's a lot of history to it, and this isn't really the video for that, so we're not going to go into it. So there's a lot of paranormal activity in the area, like the screaming of a dying soldier, a lot of different ghosts of soldiers and horses, which, like I said, I would like to see a ghost horse, if anything, phantom gunshots, and also, I will say that apparently the battlefield / area was haunted before the battle, which I don't think anyone nowadays is able to confirm if it was haunted before, but it's haunted now. So unless we get a time machine, there's no real way to confirm that. Also, this is on this level as opposed to the other ones because of the history of the place. Johnstown Flood. The South Fork Dam was erected about 14 miles upstream from Johnstown and created the Lake Conemaugh Reservoir. A few days later, heavy rainfall hit the area, and in May 31st, 1884, the dam gave out and broke. It suddenly released 20 million tons of water upon the town, and 2,209 people passed away. Sadly, even after all that, it still got worse. The surviving victims of the flood then were unsuccessful in recovering any legal damages from the owners of the dam. So yeah, that's fucked up. This happened a long time ago, more than 100 years ago, and I don't know if they ever got any compensation or just anything. Layer 7. The Naomi Mine Explosion. The Naomi Mine Explosion occurred on December 1st, 1907. I guess December 1907 is just a terrible month and year for mine explosions. 3 others happened in this month, in this year. Another one was in Pennsylvania, which will be later on in the iceberg, so yeah. The explosion happened in Naomi Mine, approximately 2 miles from Fayette City, Pennsylvania, 3.2 kilometers for anyone that isn't American. The incident resulted in the deaths of at least 35 cave miners and left no survivors. The Baltimore Mine Tunnel Disaster. An explosion occurred on June 5th, 1919, just inside the mouth of Baltimore Tunnel No. 2. The Delaware and Hudson Coal Company mine employed 450 workers and was located in Wilkes Barre, Pennsylvania. 92 cave miners were killed and 44 were injured in the explosion, which was caused by the ignition of black blasting powder. Only 7 cave miners escaped safely. The Amish school hijacking. This could also be under the serial killer umbrella, but I thought it was more fitting here. So this guy, Charles Roberts IV, on morning of October 2nd, 2006, drove about a mile from his house to a one-room Amish schoolhouse in Nickel Mines, Lancaster County. When he got to the school, he asked the teacher if they had seen a missing clevis pin. It's this on the screen right now if you don't know what it is. They said they didn't, so Charles went back to his truck and grabbed a 9mm handgun. He ordered the boys to help him carry items into the classroom from his truck. The teacher saw the opportunity and ran. Charles told one of the boys to chase her down or else he'll shoot everyone. The teacher reached a farm and asked someone to call for the police. The boys who were quote-unquote helping Charles carry stuff into the school were actually carrying various weapons and lumber to the classroom. Charles then started barricading the door. He let the boys, a pregnant woman, and 3 parents with infants out. He then barricaded himself with 10 girls. He tied them up and opened fire. He took 5 of their lives and also injuring the other 5. He then took his own life. Man, this is just fucking depressing. The Dar Mine disaster. So Pennsylvania has a history of mining coal, but it also has a lot of coal mining accidents. But this Dar Mine disaster is remembered to be the worst in the state's history. An explosion happened on December 19th, 1907, inside the mine, which caused around 239 men and boys to lose their lives. The Rhodes Opera House Fire. On January 13th, 1908, during an evening performance of the Scottish Reformation, a fire started due to a kerosene lamp that fell over inside the Rhodes Opera House in Boyertown. Due to locked or unmarked exits within the building, many people were unable to escape the fire, leaving 171 men, women, and children to perish. As a result, the legislators tightened regulations surrounding the marking and the unlocking of fire escapes in public buildings, which, as sad as this is, at least something incredibly good happened because of it. Brian Wells. On August 28, 2003, pizza delivery man Brian Douglas Wells robbed a PNC bank near his hometown of Erie, Pennsylvania. When he was being stopped by the police, Wells was murdered when an explosive collar locked to his neck detonated. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, investigated into the murder and uncovered a complex plot described as, quote-unquote, one of the most complicated and bizarre crimes in the annals of the FBI. This entry is crazy and a long story, and if I were to make a video, it'd be an incredibly long video. Wendigoon's already made a video on this, and I'm pretty sure Netflix has like a documentary on this or is making one. But the link to Wendigoon's video is in the description, so yeah, if you want to know more about this specific story, check that video out. Layer 8. The Route 22 Killer. Early morning hours of Saturday, June 13th, 1992, David Hurley went to the store to buy donuts, but thanks to an unidentified man, as he was leaving the store, a white car sideswiped him. When he exited his vehicle to exchange insurance information, the other driver shot him multiple times before driving away, leaving David severely injured. He managed to return home, call the police, and told them the story. He was then rushed to Presbyterian University Hospital via helicopter and died in the hospital hours later. David's killer is described as a young black male in his mid to late 20s in 1992. David did not notice anything unusual about his physical appearance. This is just, from what I could really tell, a random murder. I don't really know what to think of it, so on to the next one. Adam Leroy Lane. He was dubbed the Highway Killer because his crimes usually took place near a highway. There's a lot of those highway killers. We've done a couple on the podcast, if you check it out, even though the quality is dog shit, so go on your own discretion. Anyways, he became a truck driver and usually attacked his victims while on the job. He has 1 count of assault, 3 counts of attempted murder, and 2 counts of actual murder, and he's in prison for life. Good. Fuck this guy. Harrison Graham. I can't really find a moniker for this guy, but he was actually insane, like the literal definition of insane. It's kind of hard to tell if it's his actions or the shortcomings of the mental health care system, which should be held accountable. I can't really say anything for that. So his friends allegedly repeatedly tried to get him help for the 28-year-old mentally disabled drug addict, who also suffered from multiple personality disorder and a fervent attachment to his Cookie Monster doll. I could have sworn there's another serial killer, which I thought was him, named the Cookie Monster or something along those lines. After Graham was evicted from his apartment, police discovered the bodies of 7 women in his apartment, all in various stages of decay. Yeah, I don't really know what to say. If people would have actually helped them, would this have turned out differently? His friend said that they tried, but I'm not sure if that's true or not. Mark Spots. He also doesn't have a moniker, from what I can tell, which in my opinion is a good thing. I don't think we should be giving serial killers names anyways, because it'll, I quote unquote, popularize them. Anyways, Mark Spots killed 4 people in a 4-day span. It started with an argument with his brother over a gerbil. He ended up taking his brother's life. On January 31st, 1995, his girlfriend accompanied him. He then shot and took the life of June Olinger. She was 52 years old. They also stole her car. They then, also at gunpoint, carjacked Penny Gunnett. Police later found her body and car. Spots abducted the final victim, Betty Amstutz, 70 years old, near her Harrisburg home and killed her by shooting her 9 times in North Middleton Township before surrendering to the police. Charles Cullen, aka the Angel of Death. He has 29 confirmed victims and has several hundred more suspected. He also has 6 more murder attempts. Some of these slayings were in Pennsylvania, others in New Jersey, and he will probably be on that iceberg as well. Whoever has it between Omar and I, but just to shout out the other videos in series. He is often considered to be the most prolific serial killer in American history, with over 300 victims. Eventually, Cullen was arrested in connection with a patient's overdose. He confessed to 40 murders, but investigators estimated that the actual number is much higher. Gary Heidnik. He's also known as the House of Horrors killer. He murdered 2 women in his North Philadelphia home. He also held 6 victims in chains, R-wording them and using electrical shock on them during 1986 and 1987. The people who did survive said that they were kept half naked in his basement. He also fed them dog food laced with human remains. He was arrested after one of his victims escaped and told the police. He was also the last person Pennsylvania executed in 1999. Gary Stiles, aka Lobster Boy. He was an American freak show performer and a murderer. His deformity, like his moniker suggests, makes his hands look like lobster claws. His fingers and toes fuse together to form claw-like things. And in 1978, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, he shot and killed his eldest daughter's fiancé on the eve of their wedding because he did not approve of him. When he went to trial, he openly confessed on killing the fiancé, and he was convicted of 3rd-degree murder. He was not sent to prison due to his condition, ectrodactyly, so he was sentenced to house arrest and 15 years probation. And in 1997, Teresa, his ex-wife, who he remarried, together with her son from a previous marriage, hired a 17-year-old sideshow performer named Chris Wyant to kill his father and her husband for $1,500, around $3,128 in 2022, which is way too little if I'm being honest. As Lobster Boy smoked a cigarette while watching TV on the sofa, Wyant entered his house with a semi-automatic pistol and shot him in the head twice, killing him. Lobster Boy was apparently very disliked in the community, so much that only 10 people came to his funeral, and nobody volunteered as a pallbearer to carry his coffin. Harvey Miguel Robinson. He was a serial killer who gained notoriety for his crimes in Allentown, Pennsylvania during the 1990s. He was born on December 6, 1974, in Allentown, and his criminal activities began when he was just a teenager. Robinson's crimes are particularly shocking because of his age and the brutality of his actions. So his criminal history began around when he was 17 years old. He was involved in serious burglaries and even sexual assaults in Allentown during 1992. And in 1993, Robinson escalated his crimes to murder. He committed a series of murders and sexual assaults, primarily targeting women and even children. His victims ranged in ages from 6 to 65. Man, this is just fucked. I really don't like talking about the serial killers, man. Robinson's spree came to an end around July 1993. He was arrested after a home invasion. He was initially arrested for burglary, but during questioning, he confessed to murders and sexual assaults. And in 1994, Robinson was convicted of 3 counts of first-degree murder, along with other charges. He was sentenced to death for his crimes. His conviction and death sentence made him one of the youngest people on death row in the United States. He went through various legal appeals, but in 2005, he pleaded guilty to 2 additional murders in exchange for a life sentence without the possibility of parole, so he could avoid the death penalty. Hey, what's up again? It's Aris, one half of the Horror Highway. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you guys want me to cover a specific state next, please type it in the comments. The state with the most likes will be the one I do next. Also, if you don't mind, please like, comment, and subscribe. We want to try reaching 5,000 subscribers before the end of the year. It's currently October, so 2 months till the end of the year, and we'd really appreciate it if we do reach 5,000. Oh, also, one last thing, sorry. I know I missed some things from Pennsylvania. Sorry about that. I will try to add it when we do a 70-hour video of the whole entire series, calling it the United States Darkest Iceberg, and it'll basically just be a compilation of the whole series, just into one gigantic episode. Hopefully YouTube allows me to upload that video, and hopefully my computer doesn't die. So, yeah. Anyways, I hope you had a great day, and thank you for watching.